Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that, Keepers of Light. So, I wanted to touch upon some of the thoughts that I'm having. There's so many that I'm realizing that the reason why the channel is how it is, it's like each session is like a puzzle piece to the big picture of things, but I do try and pull everything back together again to create a bigger picture in all of my transmissions. However, I can only break down this information into bite-sized pieces, and it makes sense in that whoever it is that is being attracted to listening to certain sessions be will, because they're being drawn to it, be finding what it is that they're looking for. It is how things work, that everything will come into natural order, into the natural order and flow of existence. And so one of the topics really that I wanted to mention was really about, and this is really a continuation from the last few videos that I've done, about how it is that we are now operating, because we are now being called to operating in completely different ways than we have been operating in the past. And so I think right now I'll just be outlining some of the differences in that, by bringing and shining awareness to these topics, then it can then now begin to serve as a way in which to start to integrate what you have accumulated so far in terms of information from your life experiences, because it is from there, your life serving your life the way that it has been and the way that you've been interpreting it does serve as a baseline. And what comes after will then be just a period of adjustment, so that you're adding to and kind of picking up the missing gaps of information that really has been the environment that we've all been in. And that there's this the change that we're experiencing is one that is reflective of the fact that there is no longer going to be hidden information. We're at this point where information is available regarding any topic of our choosing, and it becomes more and more so that becomes more and more so reality going forward, so that what once was a hidden truth is no longer a hidden truth. It is information that is available to you. I was listening to something earlier, and they were kind of insinuating that this particular person was like dumb, and I was thinking that there's no way that we can categorize a person as being dumb if they have found themselves in a place of beingness that is now in that positioning where it is of influence to so many people. We can we can we can it is our predispositioning to judge and to look at people and to look at circumstances, and then to assign them into columns, like the black and white column, a good and bad column. But this is really kind of one of the main issues that we have as human beings, is that there's a programming within us that wants to choose. My throat chakra is just crazy. So we're wanting to categorize everything into two different columns, when reality really doesn't exist. In the reality of it is that reality exists as a summation of both categories put together. And then at the end of the day too, when you're looking at it from the grander perspective, then it's really just saying that reality is just composed of different perspectives and different interpretations of reality. And if we can all just come into the awakened state of understanding that this is the basis of reality, how we are experiencing it is just based upon whatever perspective that we're taking. that there is really kind of no wrong and right to it, but it only ever is experienced from within the context of what you're believing is right and wrong, and that right and wrong from the grander perspective really doesn't exist. But what does exist is that there could be cohesion within energies coming together, and then there could also be uh, detraction of energies pushing apart, pushing from one another, and that we are kind of like in this um we're kind of like in this like, gosh, I'm what I'm seeing is kind of like, like when in science experiments and you have like the beaker or whatever it is. I'm I'm being shown like these, I'm seeing these analogies, like I'm seeing these visions, and sometimes just trying to put into words, interpret them right away as I'm speaking kind of becomes a little complicated. But and then, just finding, oh, how do I really, like, charades? It's like charades. Like, how do I say this that I'm just seeing here? But we're kind of like in this room of experiment. You could consider it that way. Like, we're in this room of experimentation, and that within the experimentation is just the elements are just like energies, and like they're all like kind of like either coming together or pushing apart, or coming together or pushing apart. That is like the nature of existence, like coming together, pushing apart, coming together, pushing apart. And what really becomes confusing is the belief. One of the ones is really the belief that we're actually doing, that we're actually doing this is happening, but we are, and we are we are not in fact doing things. What we are is in fact being a particular way. How do I put this? How do I put this in a better way? That's why we're called human beings, because it really is just about this awareness that we are of what it is that we are being. It's not necessarily about what we are doing. It's about what we're being as we are doing, or as we are expressing ourselves into beingness. So I think I said that really badly. I should just go back to like doing the abstract channeling. But my guides want me to just work on expressing in this way, because what seems to be like forefront right now is helping people get to a point of experience where they are able to function and to move forward, and not just to move forward blindly, but to move forward with a sense of clarity. And so the topic that I am being shown is really the topic about sovereignty, that the new rules and the new ways in which we are evolving into is a state of beingness which is contingent upon the level of sovereignty that you find within your sense of beingness. And that we are moving and being pushed, as we are being pushed into evolving into more sovereignty, we are at the same time being, our energetics are being pushed into that. And this is because there's been like a resistance point within us, within all of us, which is really reflective, which is really depictive of the attachments that we have to reality, reality that I just spoke about in the previous video, reality that doesn't quite exist in that way of permanence that we have believed it to be. And so we're now kind of being asked to believe in impermanence. We're being asked to believe in not knowingness, like not knowing what our next step is going to be. We are now being pushed into accepting that potentiality is really the true nature to existence, and that what we have been sold in terms of um, like a sense of security, a sense of who we are even, is really just based upon illusion, and that the human being is not just limited to its functioning, itself identifying itself as a functioning body or a functioning system of beliefs, that the human being is within the realm of perception of awareness, which is kind of what I was talking about in the last video, and that within this level of awareness, there stands this sense of connecting into the field of existence whereby source consciousness and higher consciousness exists at that level that is achievable and reachable, to helping in terms of contributing towards the future experiences of human beings. Okay, I'm gonna have to re-listen to this myself and see whether or not even like it's coming through clearly. So when it comes to sovereignty, there's we're expanding into the realization that we are multidimensional beings and not limited to this perception of, okay, you know what, the body dies or the body now changes form and releases its energy in what we call death, and then perceiving that now that's the end to the story. We're graduating from that storyline being the way in which we're perceiving our existence, that we are the body. And I believe that most people understand that we are not the body, that we are a being of individualization of soul. And but just because we believe something doesn't necessarily mean that we have embodied that in terms of what our experiences are reflecting back to us to be. And so the changes that we're seeing, they happen first internally in the adjustments that we make to our perspectives and perceptions. And a lot of it really is going to be contingent on how well we can work together in making these adjustments and changes so that we can fulfill the desire that is now being born from the sense of confusion that is the result of the changes that are now occurring at this period of time. The thing is those changes are really coming from us. It's not necessarily that one decision or one set of decisions that we have made has now been the result of what is occurring. What is occurring is an evolutionary process. It can be defined as, you can decide at this moment that you're going to now assign this thing that happened and that thing that happened and this thing that happened as the reason for these things occurring. But that would be like a limiting perspective to take, in that you can now set yourself back and imprison yourself again into a set of beliefs and condition yourself into a set of beliefs that no longer, that do not provide for you the room to expand into the changes that we have been wanting, the changes that are now being born out of our desire, our collective human desire to no longer be subjugated in that way that we are allowing others to determine who we are, versus coming through as the sovereign beings that we are. And that the human soul, the collective human soul, has come here to express itself in whatever way that soul individual's contract of has contracted to experience in this lifetime. And that with how things have been playing out, many souls have not been able to live out the contracts that they have assigned for themselves in their lifetimes. And this is given to the fact that there is a propagation of beliefs that would create a sense of it would create of availing to reality and the ability to perceive the level of power that we all have in terms of choosing the experiences that we are wanting to have. So what is occurring right now, you can just go ahead and assign that to yourself and say, listen, I did this. The pointing of fingers and saying like, oh, it's because of you and him and her, not me, maybe me at this level, but you more. I was saying to you that all this is pointless, and it's pointless because it really is that we are just one being anyway, and that what is what is what is occurring on the outer perspective of your experience of reality, what you're seeing through your vision, your visual scope, what you are hearing, and what you are being exposed to in terms of information that is outside of you. It's merely a reflection of what is going on inside of you. You cannot blame you can, but and if you do, then it is a choice that you're making, a possible choice that you're making, that within all spectrums of possibilities is limiting, and therefore a continuation of this way of living which is limiting to the soul. So you can do that. So when I say that, I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but if you do um decide that it's one thing that's contributing to like the all of everything, then you're now not telling the truth about reality, the basic nature of reality, the basic fact that there are varying stories and varying degrees and varying levels of existence that you can experience if you are allowing yourself to exist within the realm of conditioning that supports the structure of that experience. So sovereignty is important. Sovereignty is important because it allows the natural expression of your soul to shine through you, and it is really the reason any soul contracts to incarnate is to live out its soul purpose, and to do so in a manner that is an expression of the freedom of beingness that is the nature all of all beingness. Did that make sense? So I can't even go back in my head for that. I'm reaching for words. So I'm hearing from you guys. Well, I'm hearing from one of you guys. How is this relevant to me? Kind of like how do I apply what you're actually saying here? Like, because it all just sounds like it's really like, oh, it's like pie in the sky type of thing. And okay, so how is all this relevant? Okay, so it's relevant because the unfolding of events that is occurring now will begin to reveal to you that the only course, or the best course of action to take, and it won't even be that, it's more so that the same course of actions that were available for you to take in the past are now being eliminated, and they're dissolving, not because they no longer exist, but because you will be coming to the awareness that they never existed. Okay. And so it may not seem relevant to you in these moments now, these messages that I'm sharing, but what is relevant is that it will eventually, if not now, and I'm assuming that a lot of you listening, it is relevant, but there are some who are kind of like expressing that, which is why I came up, that in that you will eventually come to a point where the understanding to these messages will come to fill in some of the gaps of some of the gaps that you are going to be confronted with in terms of um, of of closing. And it is relevant because of functionality, which is like the other video I just did beforehand, that there's going to be a reorganization within your energetic system once there's been a settling of the change of the initial changes to energetics, which really will kind of like come through as there being, which is what I was been expressing like in previous videos, the sense of confusion and sense of disorientation and sense of powerlessness and sense of not knowing what to do. Like all of that is normal, particularly just given that it's not the experiences that you had been expecting to have, and at the same time, not the experiences that you've been conditioned uh, to to being in a state of beingness at the levels and the continual rate that we will now be experiencing. There is a choice point here for all human beings to decide whether or not to wake up from the dream of construction of reality, which is no longer being supported, just given that it's unsupportable, just given that the truth is out in the open. And you know how they say, like, the truth will set you free? It is these truths that will set you free. They may initially cause there to be a sense of anger, a sense of, and the anger itself, like there was a branch that showed me like about the anger. The anger itself is like is an impetus. The anger can be a very effective way of pushing you forward into making the changes. It's like a catalyst for change. So the anger is necessary as in combination. So it's kind of like what I'm seeing is like there's going to be these energetic changes that are happening within your energetic system, and it's also being fueled by the astrological changes that we're having that are going to be helping to reconfigure the human being. All of it is like it's all like this big like intricate web of like picture of unfolding that is happening. And even now, like as I'm speaking, I'm thinking about Saturn, like the energy of Saturn, how that is like the energy that is helping me structure and to create structure in what it is that I'm seeking to express. But in order to be able to come out and express from that sense of sovereignty, from that sense of knowing without the shadow of a doubt, that sense of knowingness that's inside all of us, that we all have a level of ability to connect to, some more deeply than others. But in the context of human reality and how it is devised to be, and I guess I could say in the context of every sort of uh, incarnation that is in existence, then it's always that you will have the ability to connect to that level of your soul that allows for that level of functionality to fulfill in fulfilling what the soul has contracted to express and experience. And we all work together, and that everything is energetic, and that everything is itself changing you. It's your interactions with other people, it's the technology, it's what you are hearing and seeing and feeling. All of those elements do contribute in terms of reconfiguring your energetic system. I stand for the type of reconfiguration that allows for the dissolution of those energetics which are and have served as an entrapment to the human soul's ability to self-express in the highest level of expression that it has the ability to have in this 3D reality. And we are actually graduating from it being a third density reality to a less dense reality, in that this awakening, which is just really an unveiling of all of the non-working parts um, of the ecosystematic beingness of the human being. It's really a shedding of all of that. Once all that has been shed, then we will no longer be so attached to wanting and to creating those same levels of density of experiences that we have been creating here. And so we will be moving from third density to like higher to less dense to less dense experiences. And in that way, this is why we're talking about there being like a new way of expression, a new way of beingness, a new way, new rules, new everything. But we only ever achieve this together, all of us fulfilling our soul's highest purpose of beingness. And so my messaging, because my soul has incarnated to be a messenger in this way, my messaging is to be helpful to you in terms of reestablishing that resonance, to that reestablishing yourself and your awareness to that resonant field of resonant united field of the highest level of human beingness. I love you guys. I wouldn't be doing this if I really just didn't love you guys. I The human being is a very complex and beautiful being, and it is this that we have come to celebrate: the goodness and the beauty and the magnificence that we are. And some of the energetics and the expression of energetics that is out there will always exist to serve as the opposite, with the opposite aim. And we're not here to push against that. It is an illusion that that part of reality, the parts that exist that are in contrast to what we are mostly desiring, what we're most deeply desiring, have the hold on us that we once believed that they did, because they do not. It is really the belief that they do have power over us that has kept us limited. And so, in many ways, we are the ones who are imprisoning ourselves, and that because we are, and because we are becoming aware that we are the ones who have been imprisoning ourselves, then we also now have the ability to unlock ourselves from the same prisons that we have put ourselves in. And that the biggest lie of all is that we do not have the power to do this. And which is why I'm here, so that I can remind you, to remind myself over and over again, in case I forget, to remind myself over and over again that this is not so. And that the best thing that I could ever do is to come here and do what I'm doing now, which is to express in that highest level of sovereignty that is available to me, that I can anchor to, so that I become an expression of the embodiment of that. And by doing so, my energetics will expand to include you in and envelop you in that same energetic field. And so serve my purpose here in this lifetime. So I will leave it here, and I look forward to the next session together. Until next time.